It's really easy for personal finance creators on YouTube or any platform to only talk about investing because, let's be honest, investing is the most exciting part of personal finance, and it's what's going to allow us to achieve our long-term financial goals, hopefully. However, I created this channel alongside wanting to share information for the reason of documenting my own personal finance journey. It's called Tom's Personal Finance. So in this video, I wanted to go through the 5 things I'm doing financially in 2026 to make it my best year yet. And I'm covering all things personal finance, right from the basics onto investing as well. I wanted to cover these points because it's important to remember that personal finance is more than just investing, and there's a number of things personal finance related that you should do before you even touch investing. So I'm going to start from the basics and go through those 5 things I'm doing. I want to make 2026 my most organized, intentional personal finance year yet. The truth is, I'm not a hardcore FIRE guy, financial independence, retire early. I'm not about living off beans on toast, minimizing expenses, being super frugal. I'm all about balance. I want to be able to retire early. I want to build that nice pot of money that give me options later in life, but I want to live in the moment as well. And I hope you'll see that in this video that I'm all about balance. I'm not all about investing, although that's what I've talked about the most just because I find it the most interesting. I am all about balance in life. This video is actually based on an email I sent about 10 days ago to my email subscribers. If you want to receive newsletters from me and get access to my ETF cheat sheet and other things, I'll leave a link to sign up to my mailing list in the description below. In the description, you'll also find a document that links to all the things I'm talking about in this video. There will be some affiliate links mentioned, and they'll be fully disclosed in this video, just where it's related to what I'm talking about. So if there's a certain part of what I'm doing that relates to a particular platform and I have an affiliate link for it, I will share that. What affiliate link means is that if you use it, I will earn a small commission and you might get a bonus as per the terms. And the final bit of housekeeping before we get into it, as always, remember this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing my own journey. I'm not an expert, but I do think it's useful and interesting to see what others are doing. At least I think so. So I hope you find it interesting too. Okay, so the first point is budgeting. Budgeting is the core of personal finance because if you don't know where your money is going, then you can't really go anywhere else. You need to make sure all your spending is intentional. You know where everything's going, because when you get that sorted, that allows you to change everything and address all the other things, problems, goals you have. Budgeting is especially important for me in 2026 because I've got some big life changes coming. My income's going to fluctuate quite a bit. So yeah, it's just important to me to know how much I'm spending, how much I can aim to save and invest, and also how much I'll have left over for guilt-free spending, which I do think is an important part. So you can see my budget here from April onwards. I'm going to show it from April onwards just because that's when my income's going to be a bit more consistent. And my income comes from my full-time job as well as a small amount of dividends I take from my limited company. So I'm keeping track of all my fixed expenses as well as my variable expenses and subscriptions. And if you're thinking that some of these seem a bit low, it's because a lot of these things are split coming out of our joint account with my wife. So no, I don't have a super cheap council tax bill or super cheap gas and electric. A lot of these things are split. I like to keep the subscriptions separate because it's good to keep an eye on how many subscriptions you have. And if there's anything you notice that you're not using anymore, then it's always good to cancel that because nowadays, there's just so many subscriptions, and before you know it, you can really rack up subscriptions. I think everything just seems to have a subscription nowadays, and of course, they only go one way, they go up. So yeah, it's just good to keep track of that and then cancel the ones that you're no longer using. As you can see, there's nothing extravagant here. It's pretty much all the basics. I have allocated a small amount to coffees, bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. At work, I do like to have a coffee every now and then. I know it's not the most optimal thing. I could take coffee into work, but it just helps break up the day and I enjoy it, so why not? In the other half of the budgeting, I have my debt repayments, savings, and investments. We'll talk more about the savings bit in a second, but debt repayments, I just have some furniture on 0% finance. Bought a house a year ago, so whilst we do try and buy a lot of things outright, some things are on 0% finance. And then the cardinal sin of personal finance, I do have a car payment. I know, depreciating asset, shouldn't really be doing that, but it's a very small part of our overall household income. It works for us. I know it's not the most optimal thing, but it's not like we've got an £800, £1,000 car payment, BMW, Mercedes, and we're just living beyond our means. It's just a small car payment. It allows us to have a new car, and we like it. I hope that doesn't lead to anyone unsubscribing, because I do know it is a cardinal sin of personal finance, but please forgive me for that one. Okay, moving on to the next step. The next step would be if I had any high interest debt, like high interest credit cards, personal loans, bank loans, I would be clearing that straight away. But I don't, luckily. So we're moving on to this next thing, which is savings pots. And I do think the brilliant thing about savings pots is that if you put a couple £100 away for each specific goal that you have for that year in advance, it just means when it comes around, you don't have to dip into your emergency fund. You don't have to dip into your investments. And I know savings pots, there's not much difference to having it in pots than just having one savings account. But when I think of it as pots, it just makes it so much easier to stick to and know that I have that money for each thing. Don't have to put things on credit cards beyond what I'm going to do anyway. And I don't need to worry about dipping into the emergency fund or investments, as I said. And the savings pots that I'm going into 2026 with are holidays, gifts, furniture, baby fund, and I think that's all. I'll just check what else I have on here. Yeah, that's it. That's all the pots. And just by having these things, I know these things are coming and I'll have the money there, be able to pay them all outright, nothing to worry about. Okay, now on to the third thing I'm doing to make 2026 my best financial year yet, and this is investing, but this is investing part one. We're going to talk about pensions. So I'm using Getquin here to track all my investments in one place, but my pension here is my SIP, my self-invested personal pension. So on Getquin, the portfolio tracker I use, I have all my portfolios. The only thing I don't have is my workplace pension. So I do have a workplace pension as well, and then I have my SIP as well as that. So pensions are just brilliant. Pensions are one of the most brilliant tax efficient ways we have to save and invest for the long term in the UK because we get tax relief on our contributions. And if you're employed with your workplace pension, you're going to get that employer match as well, which is basically free money. So the combination of the employer match and tax relief, it's basically a no-brainer. And then beyond that, if you have a defined benefit pension, say you're a public sector employee, then you don't need to worry about where that's invested. It's just you put the contributions in, make sure you're opted in, and then you have that defined benefit at the end. Or for most people, the defined contribution scheme, that's when you need to be logging in, seeing how your pension is invested. There's a lot of great YouTube videos on this. Damien Talks Money, of course, has talked a lot about making sure you check what your pension is invested in. The default fund is designed to be suitable for a lot of people, and that means it probably a mix of stocks and bonds, which may well be suitable for some people, but it's worth checking if you have a higher risk tolerance. Maybe you want to go with 100% equities, and that might give you greater expected returns over the long term, or maybe default fund might be just right for you, but at the very minimum, it's worth logging in and checking how your pension is invested just to make sure it actually suits you, because this could massively change your retirement plans. Because let's say you have a fund that has average annual returns of 4% and you change it to a fund that has average annual returns of 8%, that will make a massive difference over the long term. It's just crazy how much of a difference that would make. So of course, my plan for 2026 is I'm never going to opt out my workplace pension. I would never do that. But then on top of my workplace pension, I will be making some SIP contributions as well. And I'll document that on my channel. At the moment, my SIP stands at just short of £24,000, and it's super simple with what it's invested in, mainly almost 100% at this point in a global fund. But I will be making a separate video as well, showing my exact investing plan, the funds that I will be investing into for 2026 and my reasons why. So keep an eye out for that one. Okay, now the fourth thing that I'm doing in 2026, we're still onto investing, but now we're on to stocks and shares ISA. And I will, of course, be investing into my stocks and shares ISA alongside my pension. Now, the beauty of a stocks and shares ISA, there's different tax advantages to a pension. It does have the same capital gains and dividend tax wrapper. You don't pay those capital gains or dividend tax on your investments in an ISA. The main differences with an ISA are that you can withdraw at any time. It's not locked away like a pension. And also there's no tax on withdrawals, whereas with a pension, you may have to pay some tax on your withdrawals depending on how you do it. Now, the reason why I invest inside a stocks and shares ISA as well as a pension is I want the possibility of retiring early and having money that I can access before the pension access age. So I think for me at the moment, my pension access age for a SIP and private pensions will be about 57, I think. And of course, the government could increase that many times before I get there. I'm hoping it doesn't go too much above 60, because I feel like once a private pension access age gets above 60, 61, it starts feeling like it's just disincentivizes saving into a pension. So I'm hoping it won't get much higher than 60. But because I want to retire before then, and of course I'm speculating completely on that. I have no idea what the pension access age will be. But anyway, because I want to retire before 57 at the earliest, I also invest into a stocks and shares ISA. And this is my bridge, the ISA bridge between when I want to retire and when I can access my SIP. And then also, if there's still money left over in my ISA when at pension access age, I can then use a tax-efficient combination of ISA and SIP withdrawals to have the optimal income, most tax-efficient income at that stage of life. So with my ISA plan for 2026, I'm aiming to invest £6,000, and that's going to be split between about £200 per month, January, February, March, and then £600 per month from April to December. That's just how my income is going to be fluctuating a bit this year, and there's other things I need to save up for. So that's why it's structured like that. And it is a bit less than what I've invested in previous years, but it's just life happens. Life is not linear. And I do think that's one thing I wanted to address in this video, that you see a lot of videos about this is what happens if you invest £500 per month for 30 years. This is what happens if you invest £750 per month for 40 years, whatever it may be. And that's brilliant. But the reality is, not every year is the same. Income goes up and down, expenses go up and down. So whilst it's cool to see the impact of compound interest, in reality, no one's going to be depositing the same amount of money every month for 30 or 40 years. It's just not like that. Again, as this video is more focused on my entire personal finances, I will be doing a separate video on my exact investing plan. But just with a bit of hint, it's all going to be about simplicity, whilst also allowing myself a bit of a tilt, but simplicity is going to be the name of the game with my investing in 2026. Okay, now on to the final thing that I'll be doing in 2026 to make it my best financial year yet. And this is cashback and mortgage overpayments. I'll be honest, I've been quite dismissive of cashback up until this point because I've always thought it felt like penny pinching. Like, why bother with these cashback apps? Focus on the bigger things like investing and saving. But I'm not afraid to admit I was completely wrong, because cashback, at the end of the day, it's literally free money. If you're going to do your regular shopping anyway, you might as well get some cashback on it. And it can actually stack up. So with the cashback app that I've been using, I started using it at the start of December. It's now early to mid-January at the time of recording this. And I've made £31.27 in rewards. And that's just by putting my regular grocery shopping through this app. And yeah, I can't complain. And the reason I'll be using this app in particular, I did send an email about it earlier in the year. It's called Sprive. And at the time I sent that email, I was not an affiliate. But since then, because I love the app so much, I reached out and I'll be able to join the affiliate scheme. So I do have an affiliate code and link. My code is Tom. I'll explain more about that shortly. But basically what the app does is it links to your mortgage lender, and then the cashback you earn, you pay to your lender. So it's a way of overpaying your mortgage without actually redirecting any of your investing or saving money. So I just think this is brilliant, because for me, as I imagine for most people who watch my channel, we like to prioritize investing over overpaying our mortgage, because investing has a higher expected return than a mortgage overpayment. Say your mortgage has a 3 or 4% interest rate, but you expect to get 8% returns over the long term from investing. It didn't make much sense to divert investing funds to overpaying. But for me, this is just a really nice middle ground. So now I can overpay my mortgage by about £20 to £30 each month just by putting my grocery shopping, restaurants, clothes shopping, whatever it may be, through this app. And yeah, it just feels brilliant to be able to overpay my mortgage. And I absolutely love when I come across an app like this that I can share, because it's not that often that I come across an app that I think is super simple to use and it does the job. And I've just got nothing negative to say about it. So as I say, if you do want to try it out, I do have my affiliate code, Tom, that you can use during sign up, or link in bio, and that'll give you £5 towards your mortgage after doing your first shop. It is an affiliate link, so I will earn a commission too, for full transparency. I hope the presence of that affiliate link doesn't take away from what I'm saying here, because genuinely this is just an app that I came across a couple of months ago, thought I'd try it out, and I think it's brilliant. So the fact that they had an affiliate scheme that I could sign up for and share with you guys to give you a bonus, just a no-brainer for me. So how it works is you basically just pay for your regular shopping through gift cards that you buy on the Sprive app. And when you buy those gift cards, you get cash back. So you can see, for example, a few M&S trips that I've done here recently. But if we just go here and click M&S, just to give you an example of how it works. If I bought a gift card for £50, I'd get £2 cash back. But because that cash back is being used to overpay my mortgage, I would also save £3.33 on my mortgage, which gives me a total saving on this purchase of £5.33. It's as simple as that. You buy the gift card, the cashback's credited to your Sprive account, and then just pay it self-checkout with the gift card. If any of you do check it out, let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video. It's been really nice to talk about all aspects of personal finance beyond just investing, but don't worry, I'll be talking about investing a lot more too. The first few videos of 2026, I just want to be covering what I'm doing, what my goals are, what my plan is. So after this, you can expect a video on my investing plan, going through where all my accounts currently stand and my plans, my contributions going forward. And then another video doing a deep dive into the only ETFs that I'm buying in 2026, my reasons for picking them, why I'm going down that route, and just going into a lot of detail about my picks. If that sort of content interests you, be sure to like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.